Think of any card. You got one?
I got one.
What's the card?
The King of Hearts.
The King of Hearts. Not the Queen of Spades?
The
The King of Hearts?
Okay. Cool.
The King of Hearts?
Yes.
Now here's your question.
Okay.
How many Bitcoins does it take to get some goddamn respect in this town?
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Monday. Hope everyone had a really great weekend. And if we have a look at what's going on, it's a nice green day to start the week off. So having a look at the markets, Bitcoin dominance pulled back about 0.1% with a $108 billion market cap. We still never fell below 100 billion. As you can see right here, we now have XRP back up to 30 cents, Ethereum 90 bucks, and Bitcoin at 3,432. Having a look at the biggest gainers of the day, wow, we have Revain up 42%, MOAC 26, Mobile Go 25, Mithril 18. Just massive, massive gains across the board today, guys. Nexo, Ontology, Redcoin, EOS, Qtum, and Loopring all doing quite well today. Now, let's not get too excited, because this is what we're looking at, just this little green candle right here. But, you know, I'll take it with a grain of salt or not. I will take it. Now, guys, before we get on, in all sincerity, this happened 2 days ago. I never had a chance to respond to it, but Cypherpunk's co-founder, Timothy C. May, has unfortunately passed away. They're saying it's of natural causes. If you don't know who he is the author of the Crypto Anarchist Manifesto, which actually was published in 1992, which is pretty crazy considering how long ago that was. You know, there's an excerpt from here that says the state will, of course, try to slow down or halt the speed of this cryptography-based technology, citing national security concerns, use of the technology by drug dealers and tax evaders, and fears of societal disintegration. Which is crazy, because isn't that what they basically did for like the first... Well, actually, they still say that Bitcoin is criminal money, right? Or some people still try to say it is. So, yeah, just had to get that out of the way, guys. But getting on to what's actually happening in the news today, it is 1 year since our all-time high. And I think I'm going to skip this article because I don't think we need to be reminded of it anymore. You all know how it went down. So let's talk about what happened on CNBC's Squawk Box yesterday. So you had the CEO of Circle. Obviously, we've had USDC coin listed on Coinbase as well, which if you saw yesterday's video, well, that's for another day. But anyway, in short, he basically says that he's been a long-time internet entrepreneur, and he was basically talking about the fundamentals of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and he says that they both look extremely oversold. He also claimed that the amount of usage on the two networks should justify higher short-term valuations for their respective assets. Now, he also goes on to say that the key thing with Bitcoin is that it's unique in its security and its scale, and as an idea that we need a scarce and non-sovereign store of value that individuals can hold and hold in a protected fashion, Bitcoin does still remain quite attractive despite, you know, how slow it is and everything else to a lot of people worldwide. By the same token, he says that he doesn't really embody the hallmark of being a Bitcoin maximalist. He actually goes on to say that he envisions a world filled with millions of tokens that tokenize absolutely everything, whether it be a security, commodity, or utility token. Now, you guys know, if you've been watching this channel for quite some time, that I kind of had this weird stance against that at first. I was like, come on, tokenizing everything? Well, it actually does make sense from a utility perspective, but it does not make sense from an investment standpoint. And I think that's where a lot of these ICOs screwed up last year, was coming out with all these utility tokens that were basically just speculative and really had no value outside of that. Well, for the average investor, right? He also noted that he doesn't believe cryptocurrencies are a winner-takes-all situation. Instead, he thinks that there are going to be a multitude of projects that can live in relative harmony due to the innovation of this groundbreaking potential. Now, let's talk about this guy. We spoke about him briefly the other day. Obviously, Donald Trump has chosen a pro-Bitcoin Mick Mulvaney to serve as the acting White House chief of staff beginning in 2019. So is this a good or bad thing? Well, I mean, I think it's a good thing personally, because even back in 2016, he was even speaking about the Federal Reserve and how it effectively devalued the dollar, and he'd even emphasized the exercise of such control is not possible with a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and that it's not actually manipulated by government. So, in a sense, you might be able to say that it's a good thing, considering that the US tends to kind of be at the front when it comes to all this regulation, okay? We sort of lead the way, essentially. So I think if you see more of these pro-Bitcoin officials, taking up spaces in the government, it could potentially encourage other governments to have more of a neutral way of analyzing the situation without necessarily slamming down on it and stifling innovation. So I'll just give you one example super fast. You have the Central Bank of Finland released a research document that explicitly described the inefficiency of regulating blockchain protocols. The research concluded that Bitcoin is not and cannot be regulated. In fact, here's the actual quote itself. It says, Bitcoin is not regulated. It cannot be regulated. There is no need to regulate it because as a system, it is committed to the protocol as is, and the transaction fees it charges the users are determined by the users independently of the miners' efforts. Bitcoin's design as an economic system is revolutionary and therefore would merit an economist's attention and scrutiny even if it had not been functional, which is kind of an interesting statement. Its apparent functionality and usefulness should further encourage economists to study this marvelous structure. So, talking about all these positive things coming out, but yet we still find ourselves in a pretty dismal place. Now, granted, today is a green day. We do have a little bit of gains across the board, but, I don't want to go back here and remind you, we're still very, very far away from the norm, even back to our just kind of level period when we were just hopping around in this $6,000 vein right there. So basically, long story short, if the crypto community is actually worried about impending government regulation making or breaking the market, they need to shore up their practices across the board. No cryptocurrency will be regulated favorably when the market is wrought with fraud, scams, and selfish infighting. By the way, this is an article from Live Bitcoin News, and the reason I'm choosing to bring this up is because you've seen a lot of this happening, especially with crypto Twitter, even on YouTube, a lot of different, just people fighting with each other, kind of going at each other over different coins, tribalism, pointing fingers, saying this guy, that guy. But the truth is that whether or not you're an Elastos fan or a Tron fan or an Icon fan or whatever, just pick a Cardano, just pick any blockchain, okay? Literally any. The overall thing we need to pay attention to is the actual underlying fundamentals of the tech, and it's in our best interest to stay together as a community rather than tear ourselves apart. Crypto evangelists are too often looking basically like snake oil salesmen, essentially. Manipulation is tainting trustless networks. The crypto community has to find its feet and square up before they can hope for widespread positive adoption. So Bitcoin's other problem is its decentralization, a lot of the market is controlled by just a handful of accounts, which I'm going to get into in just a second, and the mining pools tend to be somewhat centralized themselves. So that's an issue as well. Now, talking about the centralization of crypto, you do have whales. We know they exist. So it's actually estimated that only about 1,000 whales own about 40% of all Bitcoin. So to put that into perspective in a different light, that would mean that 61% of all Bitcoin is owned by 0.07% of wallets. That's pretty incredible. Now, obviously, we know 1 million of them are owned by Satoshi Nakamoto. There's also about 21% roughly totally lost. People forgot their private keys. They were careless. They threw out hard drives when they thought the coins were worthless. So that obviously has a lot to do with it as well. Not to mention the fact that the Winklovoss twins also have about around 1% as well. We also have early investors like Tim Draper, Barry Silbert. Okay, we spoke about him yesterday with the digital currency group, and a few others as well. One person that was, you can actually see right here. Here's a little bit of the graph right here. One person that they actually left off was Grayscale. We saw the other day that they've been quietly accumulating in the background, and now they control 1% of the supply as well. So, while everyone's out there panic selling, these individuals, whether they be entities, institutions or whatever, they're amassing Bitcoin in the background. So scrolling down here a little bit lower, you have 9 of the 32 largest whales actively buying and selling in the last year or so. They could be individuals or institutions, we don't know. But the interesting thing is about these whales is despite the way that most people perceive the whales to just be out there dumping, right? Like we always have this really negative connotation of whales, but ironically, as further activity, these whale holding accounts were generally actually buying the dip. So in other words, they were actually waiting for Bitcoin to decline, and then they were zooming in and buying up mass amounts. We had seen that the other day when we had all those crazy large buy orders right around 3,000 up to 3,300, right? So you could see these guys. So ironically enough, as Chainalysis sort of explained, they have on net traded against the herd, buying on price declines, referring to these whales. So despite media claims that Bitcoin whales aren't necessarily the ones crashing the price, it's pretty interesting because Bitcoin whales are actually the ones that have ironically been stabilizing the market during these times, which I know, right? Mind blown. So Chainalysis also estimated that most of the active whales have come into crypto just since 2017. So this is a lot of new money that we've seen coming in. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Now, talking about some other situations right now, we have Overstock. Now, we know that Patrick Byrne has come out and he pretty much said that first he wanted to just straight up retire, right? But then he said no, he wants to sell the retail arm of Overstock, which I believe they're doing it, oh, there you go, right there in February. And now they have Medici, which is the blockchain business arm of it. Now, don't forget, they're working with different companies like tZERO as well. So they're something that's looking to launch January 10th of next year. So on top of Bakkt and Fidelity and NASDAQ futures, we also have tZERO. So this is going to be utilizing the Flow blockchain, which is, we'll go into that another day. But, pretty much I just wanted to talk about this. So if we scroll down, I highlighted right here, you can see that by leveraging the immutable and transparent nature of the Flow blockchain, tZERO aims to illuminate a market that has historically been in the dark, as they put it, and controlled by a relatively small group of players that are very rarely held accountable. tZERO intends to provide market participants with a much fairer deal while simultaneously providing settlement services built for the 21st century. There is a lot of stuff happening in Q1 and Q2 of next year. It's a lot, and it's a lot to be excited for. And yeah, there's a lot of speculation, but what I think is kind of funny is you had basically that $1 million bet from Morgan Creek, right? And they said that they think that Bitcoin will outperform the S&P 500 in the next decade. And as Digital Asset Investor pointed out, crypto's a scam, fraud, going to zero, Ponzi scheme, worthless bubble, rat poison. But not one of the naysayers would accept the $1 million bet that crypto will outperform stocks over the next decade. There's not one person that's accepted that bet yet. I know someone's got $1 million, right? So just thought that was kind of funny. I mean, hey, put your money where your mouth is, guys. Obviously, these guys are doing it. And by the way, they said if they won, they're going to donate to charity, so they're going to do the right thing, okay? But moving on to some other things, I wanted to talk about Hu Liang. He's the co-founder and CEO of OmniX, and he kind of had this argument to put out for financial use cases beyond that of blockchain. He goes on to say that, crypto is this really interesting new asset class, okay? And there's going to be all these new tokens coming out. So, we look at a year later, after we've had this massive crash, and he says he hasn't wavered in his thinking at all. In fact, what he's realized and adjusted to is that a new asset class is not created in a year. Simply put, right? As we can see, these things do take time. So the similarities that he says he's attempting to draw here when he discusses, I'm not going to go into detail because he talks about comparing Bitcoin to the dot-com bubble. We've talked about that a lot on the channel. It's almost becoming a boring kind of comparison, right? But the similarities that he wants to point out isn't so much what happened during the boom and bust. I guess the crash, essentially. It's more of what happened afterwards. So what we learned post.com for companies to have sustainable value is that they must have real utility. An online pet store, okay, isn't very interesting in the long run, but an online bookstore with the path to become the online everything store is quite compelling. Now is when we really need to focus on delivering on the true intrinsic value of crypto and blockchain, turning away from the undue speculation and creating real use use cases and value networks. As Michael Casey so clearly put it, we caused the current crypto winter, and we are the ones that have to fix it. He also made a little bit of a prediction looking forward into 2019, talking about moving from retail into these other different crypto ecosystems with these institutional investors coming in as well. But he also pointed out that the infrastructure and uptake are well on their way, but it's going to take time. So we're waiting for Fidelity and ICE and NASDAQ and Microsoft and Starbucks are all getting on board as well. And a host of Ivy League endowment funds have all stated their initiatives as well in the space. And he also goes on to say that the second and perhaps more important area of advancement in 2019 is a broader adoption of decentralized networks at the protocol layer. New opportunities are invitations for startups. Now, I wanted to talk about what Bakkt basically came out and said as well. You had the CEO Kelly Loeffler, and she says that Starbucks isn't the only retail company interested in partnering with the upcoming cryptocurrency exchange. Now, she didn't go into specific detail, but in an interview, she says that Bakkt is hearing from a number of big name companies who also want to partner and give their customers a way to make purchases by converting crypto to cash instantly. So I think that Starbucks and Microsoft are just the beginning. I think we're going to start seeing them I can almost see them like ramping up the excitement, like kind of giving you one new partner, another new partner, just kind of like just sort of teasing. I could kind of see that happening moving forward. And also speaking about, these guys who own 1% of Bitcoin, the Winklovoss twins, they're basically saying in reference to crypto winter that they feel completely at home. They confirm that they really don't care. They're pushing ahead. They have a new mobile app coming out, the Gemini mobile app, which will be available on both Google Play and the Apple Store. And they also have a basket feature coming by. It's called Buy the Cryptoverse, which is pretty much like the basket order that Coinbase is doing as well. And they actually went on to say that they're happy for this downtime. They're glad that, the markets are kind of, dismal right now and sort of flat and nothing really crazy is going on, because it's saying that it's actually giving them the opportunity to be able to build these products and really focus on the tech moving forward. Oh, guys, and before we move on, you must always remember that one Doge will always equal one Doge. Okay, I just wanted to put that in there. Who am I kidding? So speaking on Coinbase, we did have Vice President Dan Romero. He gave reasons behind the platform's recent announcement that is exploring the support of dozens of new cryptocurrency assets. Now, we know they've been very strict, okay? Coinbase was the slowest basically to add any of these assets, and now they're just like, we're going to add a whole plethora. So they recently spoke to Laura Shin in an episode of Unchained podcast, which, by the way, CCN, it's Laura Shin, not Linda Shin. How do you guys not know that? She has like one of the biggest podcasts. Get her name right. Anyway, moving on, Romero stated that Coinbase is in fact revising its approach based on customer feedback and current developments in the regulatory space. According to him, the recent shift in strategy is particularly driven by customers who have overwhelmingly requested the addition of new cryptocurrencies to the platform. Or if, DCG has investments in them, which if you guys didn't see yesterday's video, you definitely missed a good one, guys. But that being said, yes, we have been requesting this, although I'm still wondering why XRP has yet to be listed. I mean, it's literally the number 2 cryptocurrency at this point. Like it or hate it, it's number 2. But it's not listed yet officially for people to be able to buy, freely. It's only in the custody. So I also wanted to talk about the fact that he goes on to say that our plan is now to list as many cryptocurrencies as possible within a compliant legal constraint. So in reference to their ongoing pivot into a utility phase, he explained that in the event that customers decide to change their crypto holdings on Coinbase, it cannot offer them that service due to non-support for their cryptocurrencies. So they're going to end up using a different exchange anyway. Now, what I think Coinbase needs to do is they need to make it so that you can trade back and forth between different cryptos within the mobile app without having to go to Coinbase Pro, because not everybody wants to go to a freaking exchange just to transfer or trade back and forth. I mean, let's be honest. Most people do not want to be a trader, right? Most average people just want to go out their everyday lives. Oh, hey, looks like this is a better deal today. Swap. Done. Right? So that's just my 2 Satoshis about it. But yes, guys, if you didn't see the video yesterday, this is pretty much the connection between the DCG and Coinbase and NASDAQ and BitGo, Grayscale, and all the different coins that have been listed, and Abra and Charlie Lee and everything else. And if you guys want to know more about that, check out yesterday's video. And also, something that we spoke about was this dude who was throwing money off a roof, okay, over in China. It looks like he has been arrested. Not surprised. I guess you can't throw money off a roof. But yeah, so basically he was trying to, it was a publicity stunt for this thing called File Cash Coin, and a crypto insider basically said this guy's trying to go full on for one last scam. If crypto market is healthy, there's no need to pull a stunt like this. His Facebook group, Epoch Cryptocurrency, is also a place he advertises his shady dealings. He has been trying to shill his mining computers for Hong Kong, $27,500 worth. However, some local miners say that they don't really work. So yeah, there you go, guys. So that's how that story ended. I mean, it is what it is. So let's move on. Let's talk about some coin news for the day. I know you guys got places to be, so we'll wrap it up quickly. But according to data compiled by The Block from Etherscan, the number of unique Ethereum addresses, not wallets, has recently surpassed a key round number milestone of 50 million, which is a monumental accomplishment for any network, really. So as you can see right here, it's had some nice steady growth, but they do say that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, the number of active addresses or accounts that send and receive transactions on day to day has unfortunately actually fallen, even while total addresses have been well on the rise. As of January 16th, 2018, there was around 719,000 addresses that were receiving transactions, whereas now it sits around only 232. But also, let's think about this. Don't forget that Ethereum addresses also have to do with ERC20 tokens. So we had a lot of projects migrate to mainnets, right? A lot of projects, for example, you know, Icon and Vechain and I don't know, I can't even think of them. High performance blockchain, just a whole bunch of them migrated. So once they migrate to the native chain, that pulls users away from the Ethereum ecosystem because now they're on their own native blockchain. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I also think the fact that no one's really participating in ICOs, which was taking up a lot of volume back in the day, because don't forget, people didn't care what the price was. If you were just solely investing in an ICO, what does it matter to you if you buy Ethereum at $50 or if you buy Ethereum at $1,500? Doesn't matter to you. Most of these investors were coming in with cash, right? They were taking their cash, they were buying directly on maybe Coinbase or some other exchange. They don't care what the rate is because they're coming in with fiat. So $5,000 is $5,000 regardless of what the representation is in Ethereum. You understand what I'm trying to say? So now that that demand is no longer there, you know, you're seeing this happen as well. You know, obviously the whole market's been hit, but that's basically my take on it. But speaking of the market being hit, we are seeing yet another company laying off employees. This time we have Status recently announced that it's laying off 25% of its workforce, citing economic scarcity. They blame this year's extended bearish correction in the crypto markets for their decision. And they also explain that over 1/3 of their total raised funds were unfortunately in ETH. And we all know what happened to that. It plunged about 80% since the all-time high. So actually, no, it's gone down more than that. This is well over 80%. But anyway, it doesn't really matter for the sake of the story. So they raised a whopping 100 million in crypto, which is really a lot when you really think about it. And it says now that they've lost probably around 2.6 million. And it looks like the remaining people that are working are going to have to take some cuts as well. So that's just tough times moving forward. But we also have some news coming out of Vechain. It looks like they're working with a leading cloud service provider in the UAE. So according to a joint press release, Vechain and BIOS Middle East have signed a memorandum of understanding to create a blockchain as a service framework and launch blockchain-enabled cloud services. So BIOS Middle East is integrating its own security as a service offering. Okay, yeah, known as BIOS, secured on the Vechain blockchain. This will allow for significant events to be encrypted and registered to the blockchain so that they are non-reputable, eliminating the possibility of bad actors changing logs. Sorry, guys, a lot of like spelling errors in these articles lately. These guys are getting lazy. Anyway, so also we have this really cool introduction to Lunar nodes for high-performance blockchain master nodes. Pretty cool, short thing. Human, do you read me? Lunar node, affirmative. Human, you kidding me? Mining.start. And then, it's just a really cool little fun. Then they say happy holiday season. So I like high performance blockchain. Really awesome company. I like the idea of hardware. I do think at some point the software will kind of hit a ceiling. So, hardware solutions are definitely something to keep a look at. We also have the former Estonian Prime Minister has joined the crypto startup Lympo. They're the guys that, it's like the exercising kind of thing. You get rewarded in tokens for I guess working out and stuff. So basically they said that we're thrilled to welcome Tavi Roivas as the chairman of the supervisory board of Lympo. His position as a figurehead in political and tech world will help share Lympo's vision on how blockchain and data can help transform the fitness and health lifestyle industry. And we also have this really just kind of article that came out of left field. Fintech is believed to be a systematic risk to a broader economy, according to a survey conducted by the U.S. Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, the DTCC. I've actually never even heard of this. I never even heard of these guys before. So it says that the managing director basically declared that the increased concern over fintech demonstrates a growing awareness of the potential risk and highlights the need to evaluate both risks and reward associated with fintech initiatives. Honestly, I don't even know why I'm talking about this article. I think the reason that I'm bringing it up is because I really just didn't understand why this article existed. So I thought maybe there was some point to this. As the industry continues to adopt fintech innovations like blockchain, AI, and cloud solutions, we must ensure that these innovations do not jeopardize the safety and security of the current global financial marketplace. So, like, basically this report is just saying, be careful. It's new tech. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to move on, guys. So on the brighter side, guys, we do have some adoption. We have a state-owned bank in Brazil. They're about to issue a crypto token designed to maintain parity with the national currency. So you have the Brazilian National Social Development Bank will launch a pilot in January. This is more things happening in January for the BNDES token, which runs on the Ethereum blockchain and is backed 1-for-1 by the Brazilian real. And if you don't understand how stablecoins work, essentially, this is a graphic right here. Oh, you know, we always just have some fun. Guys, I kid you not, a giant hawk just flew by my window. It was pretty majestic. I know you can't see it. You're just going to have to believe me on this one. Anyway, before we go, I wanted to talk about this massive YouTube purge that happened to crypto and blockchain related projects. I don't know if you guys know about this, but a couple days ago, actually it was on my birthday, that they decided to basically clean house and get rid of all these, you know, people buying fake subscribers and stuff like that. So you come over here and you could see, now Crypto Spark, this guy deleted his channel, but he didn't delete it because of that. He wanted to move into more traditional type of, you know, gold and you know, basic stuff like that. So he just got rid of it for different reasons. But if we look at the total loss for subs, it looks like number one is Crypto Chemist, having lost over 73.13%, followed by Professor Crypto, losing a massive 68,196 subs, 67.11%. Which is just insane. So yeah, if you guys are interested in who out there was buying the subs, you can come check this one out. Obviously, we'll search for Crypto Zombie. So before the purge, I had 40,590 subs, and after the purge, I had 40,996 subs, which means I gained 406 subscribers. That's you guys. That's all you guys. Shout out to you guys. You know, on the Crypto Zombie channel, we're all about building a real community here, guys. We don't buy subs and views. So that being said, before we go, I do want to remind you, I know I'm bringing this up every day, but guys, it's a free chance to win a wallet. So we're giving away two Coldlar Pro 3 wallets, $620 value each. There's 3 days left to go. We've had 1,236 entries. If you guys are interested, I will drop the description below. This is for the blockchain brief. Also, to note that the blockchain brief is actually having a special, I think if you give this a refresh, it like pops up or something, or usually does. All right, it didn't pop up. I don't know. Well, usually when you go here, it pops up, but there is a special that we're running for, basically, if you want, you can get a year for $55 instead of $60, and you get the first magazine for free. So if you guys are interested, there you go. If you're not, you can still enter for the wallet. So that being said, guys, I want to say thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Everyone that's been liking, subscribing, commenting, you guys are freaking awesome. You rule. It's Monday. Grab the week by the you-know-what, and let's just do it, guys. Okay, yeah, it's Monday, guys. Seriously, pleasure, honor, everyone that's been liking, subscribing, commenting, you guys freaking rule. You're the reason that I do this every single day. And that being said, my name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. Love you guys. And peace out.